welcome to my talk thingy, Darwin's War. Firstly, who am I? My name is Dave Lloyd. I'm one half of kind of indie Melbourne studio called Powerhoof. There's like two of us. We sort of started the company 10 years ago, and I sort of have a background in like tech and programming stuff, but then just doing generalist kind of stuff now. And so a few months ago we launched a game called The Drifter, which won a bunch of AGDAs, including Game of the Year and also Excellence in Narrative, which is pretty cool. And I get to listen to me talk about like story and writing and stuff like that. First what is The Drifter? So it's basically point and click adventure, and like very traditional one, but we wanted to feel really like fast-paced, which is not the norm for the genre. So really kind of making it feel exciting and edge of your seat, and kind of thrilling right to the final click. But I'll play a trailer so you can kind of get the idea.
I know what you're planning. I'm not gonna let you do it.
Security, he's back again. If you have something to say, you'd better make it quick.
Seen any strange men in all black tactical gear, night vision goggles?
No, I have not.
They're working for Trinity Biotech, abducting people.
You have a very active imagination.
I'm Sanjay. Welcome to the lab.
What's this about, Doc?
The very thing we're all here for. Mr. Carter and his ability to go back in time, to change things.
Look, you can't keep running from the past.
You don't have to do this.
Mr. Carter will trigger the phases. You will merely be along for the ride. But you should not dally.
Annie! Oh my God.
Make your decision.
Hey! We need help in here!
Yeah, so that's The Drifter. So The Drifter started as kind of my pet project because I've always loved like point and clicks. So I was sort of, and I did all the writing on it. That's what I want to talk about today. A bit about my writing background. Don't really have much. I was never like a writer. I never considered myself a writer. But I've always been attracted to writing in games, just in general. I've even playing games like Doom back in the day. I was always just excited to see what happened. Like it was a big thing, and I've always had a love for like point and click adventures, which are very story forward. I kind of got involved in point and click adventures. Started making them. It's kind of how I got my foot in the door making games like 20 years ago, and I think. I still was like not really considering the writing side of it that much because they were always just really jokey, kind of silly things. But we decided to do a game jam, and I wanted Barney, the other half of Powerhoof, to want to do this point and click adventure with me. He's not really that into point and click adventures, not as much as me at least. And so I was like, I'll make it a horror kind of thing. He loves that he can draw some cool horror stuff. And so we did this game jam, and like in a day I wrote all the stuff and like wrote the dialogue and stuff. And there was this kind of magic that came out of that, which was that when I watched people playing it, they were treating these little sprites on screen like they were real people, and they were coming up with fan theories and discussing like how what was the character thinking at this moment? And that was like this kind of I just wrote really quickly. I just made a bunch of stuff up, typed a bunch of words, and like having that like turn somehow bringing things to life was really cool for me. So then I just spent 6 years trying to turn a one-week thing into a proper game. In that time, I kind of realized how much I didn't know about writing. So it was kind of exciting to me to be able to read books about the art of writing and listen to podcasts from novelists and screenwriters, and just learn all this cool stuff that it's from this kind of world that I didn't really know existed. And there's such a wealth of information out there. So now you can get some tips to be like me and win an actor. Firstly, bloody write something. So obviously, if you want to get narrative kind of awards, then that's a key element. But I'll kind of argue my case for having a story in game at all. I think for me, having story in game is just an extra layer that you can use to engage your characters, engage your players. Sorry. So you've got your sound and your music and your awesome gameplay. But then if you also can hook people with a cool story or a cool plot or just like a cool world setting kind of thing, and also cool words, that's like just an extra layer. Like you don't have to have audio either, but it's pretty cool if you do. First tip, obey. So not me, obviously, but but I definitely noticed a lot of game dev people on Twitter and stuff like that, and maybe it's just hot take kind of stuff, kind of dismissing the really age-old kind of knowledge that comes from like people who've been writing novels for centuries. Well, they haven't personally, but and screenwriters and things like that. So I think it's really good to kind of avoid pushing back too much and going and dismissing that stuff and sort of treating it like, oh, we're an interactive medium, we don't need to care about writing and about like the rules of writing when you're writing novels and stuff. Because I think that stuff is super important. And so that'll come up a bit more in some of the tips I'm going to talk about. If they're tips, I don't know if they're tips. The first is show don't tell. So this is something probably in high school you learn this sort of thing, but it's something I didn't really understand when I kind of started. But of course, yeah, it's an interactive medium, so really it should be played and show. But like that's wrong. Yeah, so you see people say that, but I think it's a misunderstanding of what show don't tell really means. This is such a fundamental, like bread and butter part of writing, and it's something that like novelists will sort of still struggle with as they're writing, like how much they need to just like give exposition to the reader, and how much they can actually just like let them learn from their world. So it's super important for game writing to let the players figure stuff out, not just to like give them a huge wall of text. And yeah, it's something that I definitely had to really try hard not to just like have like I've got all this world that I've worked out, so and then just like force the player to read a bunch of stuff about it. So you can really get players really engaged in your story just by looking around the world, getting hints about all this like lore you've created without having to read a bunch of boring stuff where you're just being told it. I guess I'll give you an example of show and tell in case you're sort of not as aware about it, but it's basically like if you have a character and they're talking to a friend or whatever, and they're like, oh, I'm so angry at you right now. That's an example of telling. Like they're just like telling the player what their emotion is. If instead they like bang their hand on the podium and say, "You're always doing this," like suddenly you've got to kind of infer that they're angry. It's kind of obvious in this case, but you're not dumbing it down for people, and it's just more engaging. Next one is be brief, and then be so yeah, don't take like paragraphs to say something you can say in a few words, basically. So instead of saying very, 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 very good, just say fantastic, and that's more engaging, more exciting. And this one is particularly true for games because people don't want to sit there reading and clicking through like reams and reams of dialogue. So you kind of want to do an edit pass, get things really like short and sharp and punchy. That's a nice important one. Be present. This is something that I've sort of maybe noticed. Maybe it's a bit of a pet peeve of mine. People will tend to sometimes write this cool, like exciting story. Like there's a king and he's fighting with a wizard, and then they cleave the world in two, and volcanoes erupt and everything. And that happened 100 years ago. And now you're exploring an abandoned temple and learning about all this cool stuff. But I want to play the first game, the bit where all the explosions and cool stuff's happening. So just if you're exploring an abandoned temple and reading stone tablets and all this stuff that happened, just make sure it's about something that's happening right now to the character. So if you read a stone tablet and it says, oh, that idol you just picked up, it's gonna like make locusts come out of your eyeballs in 10 minutes, then that's suddenly very relevant to the player. It's something they care about, and it's gonna make them engaged in your story and not just be like, eyes glazing over. Being stylistic, I think, is a nice, easy way to like just add some more punch to your writing. For the Drifter, that was basically, I went for a kind of thriller novel style with a lot of hardball detective-y stuff. So I was taking like short clipped kind of dialogue sort of stuff. And from the thrillers, it was like a kind of first-person immediate narration style. So the character would say, things like bullets shatter past me as I dive across the doorway, instead of maybe a more third-person style of bullets shattered past him as he dove across the doorway. And that was just like, oh yeah, in thrillers that works really well to immerse the player, immerse the reader, I guess, make them feel like they're in the narrative right now. So that worked really well for my game, but it's different for every game. But you can find find a book you love, like Mary Shelley or something, I don't know, and just like look at the words they use and the structure they use, and just try and write like that. And because it's coming through your voice, it'll like make it like your own thing anyway, but it'll also just make it really interesting to read. You basically just don't want to be writing cool game narrative that just reads like a boring email. Yeah, be specific. This is another kind of magic kind of thing, like what felt like magic to me, where you could have, I don't know, like you could have a character, say they're at a bar, they want to order a drink, they're a bloke, so I guess they order a beer. But if you switch that to something very specific, say they order a VB, suddenly you're learning a lot more about that character. So yeah, maybe they're unpretentious, or like they have a bit of a working class background or something, because they haven't ordered like a martini or something, I don't know. So just little specific details like that are really strong. I'll show you the very first few lines of dialogue from my game now. I think this video plays.
I jumped the car back in Breaker's Cut. Told myself I'd never come back. Oh well, shit. Here I am.
Yeah, so in that example, right at the start, I'm saying Breaker's Cut. So I've just made up 2 words. It's a place that doesn't exist. I didn't have to art up a whole level for it. But in your heads, it's like, oh, this is a real place that exists in this world. And so little bits of specific stuff are I don't know, they're just that little magic that a little bit of writing in your game can amp things up, and you just get stuff for free. It's pretty cool. Yeah, and so this comes to the I guess the big part, or one of the most important things I think in game writing, and that's to engage players. You want to be really thinking about conflict in story and in your writing. It's a huge important part of writing, of any kind of writing, and it doesn't really matter if it's a cozy game or anything like that. The conflict is kind of the core of the story, and people push back on this as well, probably because of a bit of a misunderstanding about what conflict really is. But a story without conflict is really just a list of stuff that happens, and there's no kind of engagement there. There's nothing to take home. You don't want a conflict in your regular day or on Twitter or whatever, but in stories it's good, trust me. Conflict is story. It's how your characters grow. It gives you opportunities, it gives you opportunities to grab the player and get them hooked and not let them go until they're finished your game. It comes through into dialogue as well. So into 2 characters talking, and this is the title of my talk, and it's stolen from someone, don't worry. That's not my cool little thing, but this is something I wrote down in red text, and I stuck underneath my monitor because it's something that I found really useful to keep in mind. And I kind of like how short and brief it is as well, so it's a good reminder. But the idea behind this is you have 2 characters, those who are talking, which is what dialogue is, and both characters need to have an agenda when they're talking to each other. You don't want to have the thing you do when you go and have a coffee in the morning and you say, oh, I'll have a latte, and here's the money, and they give you a latte, and you say thank you, because there's no story there, there's no conflict, you both want the same thing. In fact, when I get my coffee in the morning, the place I go to, I like it because I can just walk in and I nod to them, they don't say anything, they just give me my coffee and I pay for it and I go, you can cut that dialogue. So you want to have 2 characters in this dialogue. They've each got their own goal, and those goals are at odds. They can be quite aligned. They can be the end goal can be pretty much aligned, but they might have different priorities. So in some way, you've got to have them battling each other, and that it might seem like that would be harder to write, but actually keeping this in mind makes things so much easier to write, because writing dialogue where you know what each person wants is so much easier, and it's easy to make that gripping dialogue as well. So I found that really easy when I was first writing the Drifter, like at the start of the game, because you're playing as this Drifter guy. He's been like attacked and shot at. He's been like walking through a sewer, he's been like half drowned and stuff, and so he's like all gross and disgusting, and, and then he's walking into like a nice, fancy newspaper office, well, not that fancy, but a newspaper office, and trying to like get help and ask questions and investigate what's going on. And understandably, when he talks to them, they're like pushing back. They're like, "Whoa, why are you talking to me? I want you to get out of here. You stink." And he's like got his like goal of like trying to get some answers. And so that was easy to write, like super easy to write that stuff, and it's engaging because you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be this like guy, and he's like trying to like be really pushy and get answers. It's fun it's engaging for the player. But then further on, further I got into the game, the character had allies and like that were working towards the same goals. So I won't be too spoilery or anything, but like they end up, it's in the trailer anyway, they end up in a secret lab and they've got to escape, and there's a detective there, and I had this bit where I had to write, they both want to escape, and the main character has to talk to the detective about how they should have both escaped and how that's a good idea, because I needed to reinforce to the player that that's what the player should be trying to do. But that's really hard, because it was like, oh hey, we should escape. Good idea, yep, that's escape. Yeah, cool, how should we escape? Oh, you do some escapey things and I will too, I guess. And it's just like, it's so hard to write that as like actual dialogue with any kind of character to it. But yeah, so reminding myself and writing down this thing and sticking it on my monitor, it meant that I could rewrite that just by like thinking about what their goals are. So for the main character, he's kind of trying to rescue someone, get them to safety. The detective, he really wants to find out what's going on, because like there's no point like escaping just to like land in the arms of the bad guys again or something. And so as soon as that was there, it was like so easy to write that dialogue and make it engaging and exciting. So yeah, it became more like, oh yeah, we've got to get out of here. What are you talking about? We've got to work out what's going on, then we can get out of here. No, we've got to get my friend to safety. What are you doing? And like, yeah, so it's like exciting, and it hooks the player a lot more. And yeah, so that's mostly what I had to talk about, I think. You want to go hard. Like I think, I guess what like with the intro to my game, the first few lines that I talked about earlier, it's all about layering on the conflict. Like you've got it was like, I jumped the car back in Breaker's Cut, told myself I'd never go back, but well shit, here I am. Like, he doesn't want to be there. Like, he's already internally conflicted. And then soon after that, I'm layering on like more internal conflict. Like you find out his wife, he's going there and his wife's going to be this funeral he's got to go to, but he hasn't seen her in 5 years since he walked out, so that's more internal conflict. Then like someone he's in the boxcar with gets attacked, and then like goes crazy and tries to attack you, and then gets shot at by some like high-tech soldiers. And so it's just layering on more and more stuff that's going to really engage the players, and like hopefully get them so that they're not going to be able to put it down. And so yeah, definitely my recommendation. And it doesn't matter if it's a cozy game, because like cozy games can have heaps of conflict. Like I don't know, like if you think of like an old nana sitting in a nice comfy armchair, I think the most cozy thing she'd want to watch is like a murder mystery which starts with a brutal murder. So it's like cozy can still have lots of conflict. But the main thing is you've got to hook players. Like that's the thing that's like, I guess it drives a lot of like what we do making games. So yeah, go hard, don't pull your punches, and see how much you can hook players with some words. I think you'll do well. So yeah, go out there and bloody write something.